there, welcome back to the Codex. So we're going to cover the Devstream 193 that just happened today. I took some timestamp notes while I was watching it so that I could try to quickly get this video out for you guys. I'm basically just going to be clicking through the video. For some parts of the video that have actual visual gameplay elements, I'll be playing their video and showing that to you guys. Otherwise, this is just going to be a quick rundown on my notes about basically everything that was revealed in the Devstream. I'm going to be hitting most of the important things, skipping some of the lower things like bug fix type stuff, minor changes, etc. But let's go ahead and hop in here. First of all, starting on March 2nd, we're going to be having the in-game per usual St. Patty's Day, so we are going to have this
you would if I did
Shamrock color palette here. So if you want that free color palette, it's either free color palette or it's on the market for like 1 credit. So either way, basically free. Skipping ahead to 1630 here, they did give us the key art for this year's TennoCon 2026. So it has some blurred image in the background and it's currently raining. If I had to guess based off of the details that we can make out in this image, I think that it's a sentient Murex up in the sky, probably above Tau. This image is probably a point of view shot of us standing on modern day Tau looking up into the sky at a blurred out sentient Murex ship. Just my guess, but we already knew that the dates for TennoCon were July 10th and 11th. I did get my ticket today. Thankfully, I got my ticket for myself and my mother. They sold out in less than 10 minutes, so hopefully you guys got your TennoCon tickets for those of you that wanted to go, and I do look forward to seeing all of you there for those of you that want to meet up and have a quick little chat. On to the next thing. We did get a announcement about the next Devstream being at PAX East on March 28th. Let's go ahead and skip ahead to that here. And they did say something interesting.
And this Devstream is going to be different.
You will be deciding the features of some of the features of the next update.
That's right.
So it's going to be a competitive panel, Megan versus.
So I'm not sure if they mean only people that are physically at PAX are going to be part of some voting, event, or if it's also going to be like an online polling thing on Twitch or whatever, or on the website. Who knows? But apparently we're going to have some sort of community sway on the next update coming out following Shadowgrapher, it sounds like. They did showcase, although some of you may have already seen this in game because it's actually been linkable for a while, they did showcase the new Dex item, the Dex Signa, which is this year's newest Dex item, and of course all of the previous year's Dex items are going to be returning, so like the Rhino skin, the Excalibur skin, all of the Dex cosmetics and the weapons. So if you don't have the Dex Subaros or the Dakar or the Furious, for example, you'll be able to get all of those. That's the way that's how the anniversary always works each year, is they bring back all of the old items and then they add one more new Dex item. So you'll be able to grab everything they're missing from previous years. Now they did announce that Switch 2 version of Warframe is going to be going live March 25th. Let's go ahead and showcase the key art for that. Here we go. Nope, ignore that. That's the trailer. Whoops. We're gonna look at that in just a moment here. Here is the key art for the Switch 2. Here we go. So coming March 25th. So for those of you that have the newer version of the Switch, it'll presumably run hopefully a lot better than the Switch 1 version. So that's very exciting for those of you Switch players. I don't personally have a Switch, but the more ways they're able to play Warframe, the better. Now let's go to the thing that I did accidentally start playing, which is the trailer for the next update. All right, here's the trailer.
Go!
Remember, the painting isn't real. Nothing can hurt you. Whatever's scaring you is just an illusion.
So, per usual, the aura and the hype element of their update trailers are always on point. And that also showcased that is also coming out on March 25th, the same day as the Switch 2 release. That's very exciting. Let's go ahead and jump ahead to where they actually visually showed Foley yet again. We did get a glimpse on the last Devstream, but more importantly in this Devstream, they showcased her ability. So let's go ahead and hop up to them showing her first ability and talking about her passive.
Or is it?
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
All right, let's play. Good. You like this?
Yes.
I don't know about that one.
Okay, fine. Fine.
I like the first roll.
The first. Oh, this one.
Delicious.
I'm actually so shocked you like that.
I know, I'm shocked too. It just works so well.
And cows.
It had been so long since we'd done a beam weapon. It was like, we gotta do another one.
Actually, first, let's look at this Encaus weapon. It's her signature rifle, apparently. It appears it's clearly full auto because the fire rate's 13.5, so it's a full auto beam weapon because Rebecca referred to it as a beam weapon, and it appears that unless they've already modded this, which, well, actually, no, they clearly have because it has an 84% crit chance. There's no way it has base 84% crit chance. I was gonna say it looks like it has base corrosive damage, but given the fact that this could actually be modded, who knows if it actually comes with corrosive damage or if it just was modded on. It is currently only corrosive and puncture, though, so if it's not corrosive damage built in, that means that this would be a pure puncture weapon. So I'm hoping that's not the case. Hopefully it is puncture and corrosive, which would be interesting. Now let's go ahead and hop up to them showing her abilities. So now they're showing off her abilities. Pablo said that her passive effect is that all of her abilities apply ink to enemies, and when inked enemies reach a certain... Actually, that's for the rifle. My bad. So Pablo said that her passive ability is that all of her abilities passively apply ink to enemies, and inked enemies, when they die, they drop that ink and it congeals into either a health or an energy orb. Now, I don't know if the health or energy orb is a completely random 50-50 chance, or maybe it prioritizes whichever you're missing more of, like by percentage. So if you're missing more health and energy, maybe it's guaranteed to be a health orb, and vice versa. If you're mostly missing energy and your health is topped up, maybe it's guaranteed to be an energy orb. I don't know. Either way, it's nice. It'll definitely synergize nicely depending on how random it being a health orb is. It'll synergize nicely with Equilibrium, for example, for some very nice energy economy. Now, her second ability that they're showcasing right now is crazy. You basically turn into the Paintress from Expedition 33, and you can just create your own painted world. So you open up this gear wheel of different things that you can draw, and he, as you can see, he just drew a explosive container
and blow it up, and they're gone
into reality. So you can draw things like explosive containers. You can put down death orbs. You can put down RPGs. Like I think he's about to put down a thermine here. So here's the RPG, and at least in the developer mode here, against these albeit level 80 enemies, it does a lot of damage. And Pablo did specifically mark the fact that all of these summoned like damaging effects, at least like the RPG and the death orb or whatnot, it sounds like they do their normal like AI scaling damage. So they do have a degree of scaling, which means that hopefully, whether you're in like a base steel path, or even if you're approaching like really high levels like level cap, if it actually scales properly, it should be viable against any level of enemies, which would be very, very nice. We've seen a few other frames like that have that, and I like to see that trend continuing. Now this is crazy. One of the things you can draw is a Loke Surge. Now, Pablo did comment, kind of half joking, half serious. It sounded like he said, oh yeah, I'm probably going to nerf this. I don't know if he was referring to the infinite ammo Loke Surge that you can see Rebecca firing here. This is giving her Thermine RPG that she drew with the same ability, infinite ammo, for the 1 minute duration of this Loke Surge buff. So I don't know if he meant that he's going to nerf or remove just the infinite ammo effect, or if he doesn't like the Loke Surge at all. I'm assuming he just means the infinite ammo, because there's no way they could show something as fun and as powerful as drawing your own Loke Surge and then take that away. Like, that would be crazy. So my next question is, since this Loke Surge is almost certainly going to make it into the game, what all effects are we going to be able to have access to, and will the effects work like the standard Loke Surges? Because two of the Loke Surges that we can get, for example, are every health orb that you pick up increases your max health up to some cap, which gives you a ton of extra max health for the rest of the mission, and that could make her a way more viable health tank, for example, than her base stats make it look like, because that's basically having a built-in arcane blessing effect. And there's another Loke Surge effect that gives you energy regen for like permanent for the rest of the mission energy regen based off of picking up energy orbs. That would provide absolutely crazy energy sustain, not only to you but to your entire team, because again, this is a Loke Surge buff. This is a team-wide buff, and other people can presumably activate the Loke Surges as well, although they shouldn't even need to, because again, Loke Surges affect your entire team. So there could be some very interesting ways to build around the fact that she has these Loke Surges if they work like the normal Loke Surges in the Zeraman. So I'll be looking at that for sure when she comes out. Now, moving on to her third ability here. Actually, not quite yet. So apparently, they added the Call of Duty Black Ops style emblem editor for the painted effects of her second ability. So let me back up a little bit here. You see that when you go into the arsenal for her, you can actually access her shadow graph, which is apparently the name like of the painting device that she has, and you can custom design the images for all of the things that she's able to paint into reality. So I'm just saying, as a community, let's not have 1,000 day one Lotuses being painted into reality, okay? Please do not get yourself banned. I'm just saying, I know there's some deviance out there, so let's be relaxed with this capability. Now moving on to her third ability. So here is her third ability. She throws out a basically mirror image of herself. They called it a portrait. It's an inky version of yourself. It probably attracts fire. I'm actually not sure if it has an aggro pooling effect. I believe they said that it did. Don't take my word on it. That what it does give you, though, for sure, is it gives you damage reduction, and the damage reduction scales up by killing ink-affected enemies. So you want to use your other abilities to get ink on surrounding enemies, and then have your 3-up, and then keep killing them. And I'm just not realizing, I didn't actually notice this at first, I don't know if they said this, but apparently killing every inked enemy actually gives duration back, because if you look in the bottom right of the screen here, the third ability here is actually getting duration back on every kill he's getting on these inked enemies. So not only does getting inked enemies help you cap out that damage reduction, but it actually makes the ability seemingly permanent as long as you have enough enemy flow. And a really interesting thing about this is that if you look at the top right of the screen, it's currently at 92%, which means that unlike many damage reductions in the game, which cap out at 90%, not all of them, but most of them, this one appears to go past 90%, and presumably that means that it caps out at 95%, because that's the highest single ability amount of damage reduction that we have in the game from other abilities that hit that. So if it does go to 95% instead of 90%, that means that this ability is able to give you a 20x effective health multiplier instead of only 10x that a 90% would be. So this is actually, especially if you pair this again with the potential for the health orb Loke Surge that she might be able to draw into reality, if you pair that extra max health effect with 90, yeah, there you can see 95% damage reduction that she's hitting and capping out at, looks like. That actually means that she's going to be quite tanky, I think, at least at normal levels of Steel Path. Of course, if you go into like, level 10,000, you're going to need some different tech. And what you've been seeing here for the past few seconds is her fourth ability. Her fourth ability, you trap enemies up on these balloons, and of course that alone is, hardcore crowd control. But if you shoot the balloons, it drops the enemy onto the ground, and as you can see right there, it does a good amount of damage to them. And some of the enemies that he killed, it did like 3 million damage, and he said that it's currently doing too much. So don't take it with a grain of salt. We don't know how much damage this is actually going to do when it makes it into the game, but it does look fun. It's decent crowd control, and more importantly for many people, it is actually able to kill enemies. And again, hopefully it does some amount of scaling damage, because if it doesn't scale, then at some point it's going to just not be able to kill enemies properly. So that's going to become very, very much less effective. Now moving on to the next thing here. Thank the Lotus, they are finally adding a survival speed up mechanic. However, unfortunately, I don't think I'm a huge fan of how they are implementing it. I'm a fan of the fact that we will be able to have survival speed ups, but the way that they're implementing it, as you see right here, is that you have to search around the map to find these security bypass things on the ground, kind of like the security bypasses that you find in disruption missions, and then you have to go and plug it into a terminal, and it seems that it triggers, as you can see here, I skipped ahead, after you plugged it in, it triggers 1 minute of double speed time. So that means that over the course of that next double time minute, it's actually taking off 2 minutes of the survival, which basically means that you get 1 free minute taken off, which taking off 1 minute of a 5-minute rotation means that you're speeding up the survival rotations by 20%. So if you're doing a Fisher survival, for example, you're able to, crack open 20% more relics per hour, 20% more rewards per hour, 20% more rotation progress per hour. Depending on what kind of survival you're doing, the reward factor of that is gonna differ. So it is nice. It is speeding up the mission by 20%, but the way in which they decide to go about that, by having it not be like kill based, for example, they already had the solution to this problem in Elite Temporal Archimedia, Elite Deep Archimedia. They already have a survival mechanic where you can summon a unique enemy, and by killing them, it shaves off time. I'm not sure why they didn't just go with that, because it's less of a cognitive load and it's less disruptive to the general survival experience of sitting in whatever the best spawn flow room is and just killing endless hordes of enemies. Having to go and hunt this thing down is probably going to lead a good amount of people to just not doing it, which is unfortunate, because now we're going to be stuck in the scenario where you know that there's a potential speed up mechanic that you could do, but if you're deciding to not do it because you don't like having to go and hunt this thing down every rotation, then you can still play lazily, but you now have to deal with the mental aspect of, oh, I'm playing inefficiently, I could be going faster, this feels bad. And then for the people that do go and hunt it down, you now have this constant extra cognitive load in the survival of, every 3, 4, 5 minutes having to find this thing to plug in. And most people just don't want to do that in survival. Like, survival has always been the, turn brain off, endlessly killing game mode. So the way in which they're choosing to implement this, I think, is going to kind of be a turn off to some people, but that's okay. So, speeding it up is speeding it up. It's still a net positive. You don't have to do it. And if you do decide to do it, there you go. Now, this right here that we're showcasing is the new game mode called Foley's Hunt. As you see, you hop into the kind of painted mirror world. And this game mode appears to be kind of an odd mixture between, what's it called? Kind of like a Void Flood and what's that? Shrine Defense. So you have to find a... Let me skip ahead here to the altar. So at 5640 here, she finds a canvas. Apparently. There we go. So you have to find these canvases, and then you have to go and you have to bring 3 things of paint back to the canvas and keep painting it, basically. And as we can see here, when you find these things of paint, you get forced into your operator only. Your operator is coated in this ink. You seemingly are not allowed to use your Warframe until you, as your operator, bring the paint back to the canvas. And there's no enemies at the start of the mission, but seemingly once you find the paint and once you start delivering the paint, that triggers the continuous hordes of enemies. And another aspect to the game mode is that Foley herself, the new Warframe, is actually able to spawn in and hunt you down. As we can see right here, here is Foley.
If you get stuck in her aura, it's...
Should I?
And as Rebecca mentioned there, if you do get stuck in her aura, she does immediately, well, not immediately, but she does quickly down you. I'll go ahead and showcase that here. So here in this clip, we can see that you enter the aura, you start taking continuous constant damage over time, and then eventually, if you keep staying in there, you go down. So you do want to avoid her. She is pretty slow, though, and her aura is not massive, so it should be not too hard to avoid dying to this, especially since it's not a actual instant kill. So it's not like you clip the edge and just die instantly. So the game mode looks kind of... I don't want to judge the game mode until it's actually out, because, the devs themselves, they don't play hyper optimally or anything, so we don't know how quickly we'll actually be able to get through these rounds, but it did look a bit sluggish in the gameplay that they showed, so hopefully it's not quite as slow when it actually gets into our hands, especially in a team. If you have, a team of multiple people all hunting out paint at the same time, it's probably going to hopefully be substantially faster. Now, there is going to be 1 week after launch, so presumably April 1st, it sounds like, a event version of this game mode called Operation Atramentum. And since they're calling this an operation, which is, a clan event, I think they did already say that there is going to be guaranteed clan rewards, like trophies and whatnot. I'm not sure if there's going to be arcanes in it. There usually is in operations, but we'll see. There's, of course, going to be new cosmetics, new stuff. They did not actually show the event store, but they did show a really cool side store called Create Atrograph Mods. And this is a super cool new foiled mod system. So you can now come here and you can spend the resource called Chromatic Atramentum, which is presumably from, just doing the game mode. And as you can see here from the streamline, we can get foiled versions of mods. Now, this is purely cosmetic. There is no actual chain. Like, it's not like foiling a streamline makes it 40% efficiency instead of 30. It's purely cosmetic. So you're not missing out on any gameplay experience if you don't get these foiled mods quickly. It's purely cosmetic. I don't know if the atrographed version of the mods are going to be tradable. That'd be interesting. That might open up kind of a sub-market around people wanting to get all of their foiled mods faster, but who knows? But again, there's no gameplay impact. It's purely, aura farming with your really cool foiled mods. They did also showcase these 2 skins. We saw one of the skins in the previous Devstream, but they're now more fully showcasing this really cool new Goss and Grendel deluxe skins. And some really cool emotes. Here's the Goss skin right here. I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead. They also show and there's a really cool kickback sigil effect that makes you look like you're covered in dust from, running super fast and coating yourself in the environment and whatnot. So that's really nice. They also show the Grendel skin. I'm a big fan of this Grendel Turbis skin. It's like a super mecha Grendel skin. Very, very sick looking. And the emotes are super cool. Let me go ahead and showcase these.
Juggle.
I'm gonna turn the noise on for this.
This one we showed you.
So good.
Yeah.
Awesome animations, awesome look. It summons in the other frames, so like the Grendel animation, like the you playing as Grendel emote summons in, you know, basically like a spectral Goss and vice versa, and you do like a team emote. It'd be really cool if they made it so that if you're actually playing with a real Goss and Grendel player and you trigger these emotes at the same time, that it would do like a real player combo emote. That'd be really cool. Here's the Grendel one that I'm about to showcase here.
Wow, that's
Also super cool. And of course we have a new batch of TennoGen coming up here. There's multiple new Signas. I think there's either 2 or 3 new Signas. There's a new Steinax skin, a new Nova skin, a new Hammer skin right there. So there's lots of nice new skins. Honestly, the Steinax skin is probably a pass for me because it's competing with this super cool like Aztec looking deluxe skin, whatever that's called. But you know, more skins is always nice. That's the real endgame is fashion frame, and that's about it. There's a few more nice things though. They did showcase some operator changes. They're adding even more operator and drifter appearances. So here's a quick little showcase here. New face options, new beard options. Again, more fashion choices is always fantastic. We love that in Warframe. They're adding 44 new Honorias, which is crazy. They're adding, they said, Syndicate-based Honorias, Quest-based Honorias, and Warframe-based Honorias. 44 of them coming this update, and of course more to come. When she just mentioned the Warframe ones, I wonder if she just means getting them to rank 30 or doing frame-specific, like thematically appropriate challenges. Who knows? But again, more customization, always nice. Super cool thing for excavators that they're going to show in a moment here. So well, they don't actually visually show it, but they talk about it. Excavators are finally getting shield gating. So they're going to get shield gating. Their health is going to scale faster now with level. And I think those are the two main things. Oh, and they spawn in invulnerable, so excavators can explode like on the way down, basically. So they spawn in with a few seconds of invulnerability. They scale their health faster, and they have shield gating, which means that when you do the thing where you pick up a power core and you feed it to it and it gives it some of its shields back, that also is going to refresh its shield gate. So excavators should hopefully be much tankier, especially for those of you that want to do very longer, high-level excavator runs where they just get one-tapped, basically. Another S-tier change is they're reworking the Arctic Xmas bubbles. Now, they didn't mention whether or not they're going to fix the Hildred not being able to pop them with Balefire from the outside, but that is a bug, obviously, so it'll be fixed at some point. But they are changing the Cold Xmas. They're changing the Arctic Xmas to where the Xmas effect is only affect you when you're inside of their actual bubble. So instead of being this massive aura around them, you will only experience the cold when you actually enter the very clearly visible bubble. They no longer overlap, so if there's 4 Arctic Xmas near each other, you're no longer going to experience a 99.9999% slow and just be a statue, basically. And they're changing it to be actual cold status procs instead of the unique slowing aura, which means that now when you're playing as any frames or with a frame on your team that makes you status immune, you're now immune to the cold effect of the Arctic Xmas because it's now being applied as an actual stats effect. So that's great for all the stats immune frames. Very amazing quality of life for Arctic Xmas. I love that. They are making the mantle animation better, so when you grab onto things and you have to like flip yourself over, they're making that a lot more fluid, a lot faster. They're removing it in some places where it shouldn't be. Quick little side note there. Major new note that I love that they're about to show here. They're adding a new system where they're incentivizing you to play with your clanmates, because now playing with your clanmates, not only does it, they say that when you're playing in a mission with your clanmates, a percentage of the drops that you pick up are going to be automatically donated to your clan's vault for the purposes of funding research. Now, I'm assuming what they meant is that it copies a portion of your pickups. It doesn't consume, because it would be really terrible if, for example, you pick up 1,000 polymer and you only get 900, and 10% of that, so like 100, for example, is stripped from you and forced to go to the clan vault. So I'm assuming they're not making you lose resources for the purposes of this funding. They probably mean that if you pick up 1,000 polymer, for example, you get 1,000 polymer, but also a portion of that is copied and additionally goes to your clan, because otherwise if it worked in the first way that I said, that would mean that playing with clanmates would mean you get less resources, which would be terrible. So I'm assuming that's not how that works. But also, if you look in the bottom right here, they're adding a weekly initiative system where the more that you play with your clanmates, just for playing with them, you unlock additional free rewards, basically. Like, this is probably not finalized, but you can see there's like 12 neurodes, 3 Aya, that's really nice, 14,000 Kuva, and then 21,000 Kuva. So, especially if they stick with the extra Aya in Kuva, I'm going to love that, because I play with my clanmates all the time. So, more free Aya, free Kuva, free Endo, for example, any of that would be fantastic. I did not see this coming, just completely, blown away by the random addition of, hey, you get free stuff from playing with your clanmates. I love this. Hopefully it incentivizes people to, be part of their community, part of the clan that they're in more. Very exciting as well. This is the last really major thing of the Devstream, in my opinion. Now, they are adding this new game mode, this version of the pre-to-relay game mode, rather, called The Guilty. This is going to be basically the hard mode Accolade version, similar to the Accolade tank fight, the Vor fight, and the Fragmented One fight. They're going to be adding a Accolade version to Pre-Rebellion, and they didn't tell us how to unlock this, but there's some secret way in the Pre-Rebellion that we have to find something, probably, or do something, some kind of puzzle mechanic, who knows, to unlock the Guilty, and only people that have the Guilty unlocked will be able to matchmake with other people who have it unlocked. So, like, you can't matchmake into the Guilty if you don't have it. And you probably can't be taxi to it either. If I had to guess, I would guess that it has like the ETA style restriction where it kicks you out if you also don't have it, but who knows. They are also changing the default frames, Excalibur, Volt, Mag, to now be 1-day crafts, just like Rhino. So instead of the normal 3 days, it's going to be 1-day crafts. So that's really nice. And they said that they're also going to improve some farms on some other frames and weapons. They specifically mentioned the Equinox, the Wolf Sledge, the Bratton and the Leto Vandal, the Sporthrix, the Caruto, the Exceltra, the Icarius, the Aram Spinoza, and maybe some other ones. I don't know if that means that they're going to be completely changing any of the farming methodology for any of those, or if they're just going to increase the drop chances. Like, for example, the Icarius is just a drop chance from an enemy from the infested enemy in a disruption, I believe. If they just double the drop chance, for example, then that's all they would have to do, and it would drop way more often. So they're probably just going to bump the numbers, especially on stuff like the Bratton and Leto Vandal. Those are one of the worst grinds in the game, which is why those weapons sell for 300, 400, 500 plat, absolutely crazy amounts. And they did again verify that they're moving all of the current Requiem relics that currently exist in the game over to Paladino for ribbon slivers. They're replacing all of those, except again, you can still get them for slivers, and they're replacing those with the only one that's going to drop now is going to be the brand new Requiem Eterna relic, which is a Requiem relic that, instead of having just 2 of the mods and then extra stuff like Huva and Exo Steps and whatnot, it's going to be just all of the mods. It's going to be purely just Requiem mod drops only, and that's going to be the only relic that drops now from Thralls. So if you want to get the old ones, you got to buy them for ribbon slivers from Paladino, and hopefully they add other stuff to Paladino as well. They did say that everybody on login for the first what's probably like a week or 2 after the update comes out, you will get 8 free Requiem Eterna relics delivered to your inbox, so you can start farming that right away in that limited capacity. Anyways, that's most of the Devstream. If I missed anything super important, you can let me know down in the comments. I'll probably add it to a pinned comment if I think of anything, or if any of you remind me of anything. It was a good Devstream. I'm really happy with all the quality of life that we're getting. The new frame does look super, super cool, especially her second ability of just drawing a bunch of different stuff into reality. I do wonder if what they showed of that, painting wheel is actually final, or if there's going to be anything that we can, paint into the game that we haven't seen yet. Super cool. Again, love the quality of life. The Arctic changes, S tier, amazing, and a lot of other stuff. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully this was a useful breakdown for you. Let me know down below, what was your favorite part of the Devstream, and are you looking forward to the update? And I will see you guys in the next one.